Officials from a hospital in Norwich have apologised after a family discovered a diagnosis of terminal cancer by accident. The details were included with a bag of medicine when 80-year-old Jack Butcher was discharged from hospital.
It was news the family of Jack Butcher didn't want to hear, a diagnosis of terminal lung cancer. They found out because scan results were left inside a bag of drugs, which he took home from the Norfolk Norwich University Hospital last November.
The whole family really is absolutely devastated. Sort of finding that out just in the slip of paper what was in the tablet bag. I just can't believe what they've done.
The family knew but had to keep the news from Mr Butcher for several days. The hospital told us, unfortunately, full copies of the test reports were included in the discharge pack. Mr Butcher's consultant immediately phoned the family to apologise for this and met them in person the following week when the test results were explained in full. Valerie Aspinall says her father is very ill. She hopes the mistake is not repeated for other patients. Ian Barmer, BBC Look East.
Tory MP claims vulnerable children could be put at risk if Norwich becomes a unitary authority. The government wants the City Council to take over services currently provided by the County Council, including social services. The decision is being challenged in the courts. The Mid-Norfolk MP, Keith Simpson, told a committee reorganisation was a waste of money.
We have a big enough problem, Mrs Humble, now of cases of child abuse and, sadly, child murder. And the one lesson that comes through every year from all the studies is that invariably one of the weaknesses when there are too many authorities. So
The police are appealing for witnesses to an accident which closed the A12 in Essex for 2 hours yesterday afternoon. A woman from Southend was airlifted to hospital with head and leg injuries, where she's still in a critical condition.
This was the scene yesterday afternoon, gridlock, and both sides of the road closed so the air ambulance could land. One of the drivers was airlifted to hospital. The northbound carriageway shut for around 45 minutes whilst they were evacuated. The accident happened on the London-bound carriageway of the road at Witham just after 3 o'clock.
The collision happened between a black Volkswagen Polo and a silver Volvo Estate. Police are appealing for anyone who witnessed the accident or saw either of the cars being driven before the crash to come forward. The London-bound carriageway was shut for 2 hours while police carried out their investigations, causing severe delays.
It's the second time in a week the A12 was shut. Last Tuesday, structural engineers were called out after a lorry carrying a crane hit a bridge at Hatfield Peveril. The London-bound carriageway was closed for 7 hours, and a 28-year-old man from South Witham Ferris was arrested at the scene and later released on bail. Meanwhile, yesterday's accident has left one woman in hospital in a critical condition. Felicity Simper, BBC Look East.
5 people have been arrested following a police firearms operation in Southend. A woman reported that she'd been threatened by 3 men in a car in Sutton Road. 2 men have been arrested on suspicion of making threats to kill. 3 more were arrested at a flat in Sutton Road this morning. A youth club in Great Yarmouth has had to close following a second fire in 6 months. The building at the new town youth centre is now unsafe. The club says it has nowhere else to hold its meetings.
It's a tremendous loss to the people of the area. It's a tremendous loss to the children. The council today have obviously claimed back the land due to safety fears, so I'm afraid Newtown Youth Centre today, as it stands, is completely finished.
The police in Suffolk have been told they still have more to do to improve the quality of the service they provide. Last summer, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary rated the force as poor. It's now been reassessed and rated as fair. Overall crime in the county has fallen during the past year. A campaign to save Britain's only known Roman chariot racing circus in Colchester has raised £200,000. A local group wants to turn the site into a heritage centre. It now plans to apply for grants to save the site from development.
Now, after years of neglect, an historic hotel on the seafront in Southend has reopened. £25 million has been spent on the work at the Palace, where former guests include Laurel and Hardy.
A glorious early spring day in Southend, and now the resort looks a lot smarter because the Palace Hotel is back to its best.
Out of 10, I'd give it 8. really is. No, it is. It makes a difference. The only point is, will it stay that way, you know, when it gets weathered?
Oh, I think it looks really nice and it does improve the outlook of the town very much.
And toasting the hotel's return today with some of the first guests, the hotel's manager.
It's an investment of 25 million. If you can imagine that the staircase had to be replaced, there was no elevators, the rooms were not up to scratch, no infrastructure, no lick of paint even. So 25 million to bring it up to the level what it is now, yeah, makes it even more special. And it is now up to me and the Parkin Palace to make a return on investment, so to speak.
The palace has an illustrious history. This was the ballroom back in the 30s. The view from the balcony is certainly impressive, and it was once enjoyed by none other than Laurel and Hardy. Here's the proof, a picture showing them standing on the balcony. They stayed at the palace when they were on tour.
But they were going to pull it down, you know. Thank goodness they didn't.
Over the years, the palace has been a prominent eyesore. Now it's hoped it will attract visitors and create jobs. Gareth George, BBC Look East.
Some new technology was unveiled in Cambridge today. 2 high-tech cameras linked to a computer. And amazingly, they can show us the hidden history of old paintings.
It's cost hundreds of thousands of pounds to develop the system. It's called the SAT Scan, and they did it at the Hamilton Car Institute. And now it could be used across the world.
Slowly does it. Paintings here are priceless. This 16th century piece is probably worth a staggering £50 million. But now amongst the masterpieces, something very much 21st century. 2 cameras that frame by frame capture every brushstroke, every detail. Hundreds of images are then stitched together by computer.
Previously they would manually move each camera frame, and it would take hours and hours just to stitch together a few frames. So this system stitches together hundreds of frames in the matter of, say, half an hour, maybe an hour, if you did a very large painting.
More than that, it can uncover a painting's past. This is the Earl of Southampton. Behind him, billowing clouds and a bay of boats. But the scan shows when painted by Holbein in the 1520s, he was in a church.
It's great to be able to look under the paint. It's the detective side, because not all paintings show something different, and it's not necessarily a completely different painting, but often you find the drawing, the initial ideas, whether it's an original by the artist or just the workshop or a copy, and it might give us a clue into the subject matter or the genesis, where the painting came from.
Called the SAT Scan, it's taken 3 years and hundreds of thousands of pounds to develop. The hope is galleries across the world will take interest. Mike Cartwright, BBC Look East, Whittlesford, near Cambridge.
That's great.